Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is EV Comics, and the Rippaverse might actually be dying. And this has been quite the journey because 3 years ago, I got on the hype train and got ISOM 1, read it, kind of liked it, gave it a chance, read ISOM 2, was a little disappointed, but I could still give it a chance. Got Alpha Core, thought it was really good actually. Got Yaira, thought it was terrible, utterly terrible. And then what was the next one? The next one was Gooding. I thought that was pretty good, but still had some problems with it. And then Horseman, which I thought was good as well. But that's kind of been the last one I've had for a while. ISOM 3, and I thought that was a pretty mid way to end off things for the main arc. And then, I got Alpha Core 2. I have not received it yet. I will do a review on it, and that will probably be my last Rippaverse review ever, unless I'm able to get my hands on some secondhand copies or something around the lines of that. Whatever. Because I'm not really going to be ordering it anymore from the Rippaverse, just because I'm not really excited for anything going on. I think Alpha Core is like the last good series I'm really interested in, and I will definitely be reviewing Alpha Core 2 when it arrives. It's taken quite a while. But the main thing I want to talk about today is this little video that's kind of compiling a couple of things that we see are are happening here. And part of it is this woman here, Cara Lynn, which I don't care about the staff really. I don't really care about anyone as far as the Rippaverse goes, as far as like who they are personally. I don't really care. I'm mainly just talking about stuff because I think it's interesting, and I think a lot of this was very much predicted. A lot of this was kind of foreshadowed, I'll say, better than any of the stories the actual Rippaverse comics did foreshadowing. But anyway, the Cara Lynn here is the customer relations person, and she's been with the company for since it began, almost like not like day one, but she was hired after her company unfairly fired her or whatever. I don't know the full story with that. The point is that that's how she got that job, and she's been doing it ever since. Well, recently she's made this video on this show called Side Scrollers, where she basically does not say that she was let go, does not say that she was fired or whatever. But she is essentially hinting at that because she's talking about doing her crafts, which apparently she does some craft stuff. Again, I don't really care personally, but she's talking about like selling her entire video game collection and other stuff, and it's like, oh, are you that down bad for money? Like you're selling all of your video games? Like, why? When someone is selling a bunch of stuff like this, it usually means that they need money, like right now, like they need a little extra cash at the moment. And that's exactly what seems to be happening here, because it seems, again, there's no 1,000% concrete evidence that she was fired or let go or whatever. It seems like she was, and now she's just trying to desperately make money any way she can. She's talking about live streaming, which is fine. I wish the best for her. I don't wish anything negative for her at all. But this is one of the people, and then Gothix, which has been kind of the social media person for the Rippaverse. Sometimes, more often than not, these days it'll be her doing the videos, the shorts, and stuff like that instead of Eric. And she's been doing that for a while now. I think maybe like a year at this point, maybe a little bit more. And she's also been doing live streaming on the Rippaverse channel and stuff like that. And now she's announced that she's going to be running for some kind of a public office. Probably, I don't know where she lives, but probably in her area. And I say good luck with that, because I find it very hard to believe that a social media influencer tied to a comic book company will be able to land a place in office. You know what I mean? Like I find it hard to believe that she could find a place for that. Whatever, whatever. Wish her the best. But she doesn't say that she's leaving. She doesn't say that she's going away. But I have noticed lately that Eric has been more appearing in videos in the past couple of weeks. It's been more Eric than her. She's still appearing, but it seems like it's more him these days. And that could hint at the fact that, of course, she's busy with other stuff. She doesn't have as much time to do the Rippaverse stuff. And maybe that's because her employment type has changed from being like a full-time or part-time employee getting paid on a salary to being a commissioned, contractor or something, right? They pay her to do different videos or whatever. Maybe it was always that way. I don't know. But what she says that nothing's going to change. No, there's going to be a lot of change. I'm sorry to tell you this, but running for office takes up a ton of your time. I have someone I know from work who retired from his job. Now he's running for a political office. And that's all he ever talks about on social media. That's all I ever see from him. It's barely anything else. And it's because it is your entire life. If you want to actually get into office, you have to make it your entire life for that period you are running. And she's not going to be able to do this. She's not going to be able to to do this stuff as often as she was. And ultimately, I think it's pretty naive to think that nothing's going to change. But you know what? Again, wish her the best. And then the other one that I thought was very odd was that the Saska sisters, I said that all sorts of wrong. The Saskas, who wrote Yaira 1, 2, and 3. They've written Bloodruth 1 and 2 as well, and a couple other things. They are not writing the next Yaira series. Instead, it's going to be written by Eric July and Carol Brown, which, by the way, support Carol Brown. She's going through cancer right now as someone whose brother went through a battle with cancer. In fact, is the reason why I started making Little Miss Steele into a full-blown comic in the first place. That's not something that's very easy to go through. And obviously, you should look past the beef of whatever kind of disagreements you have with the Rippaverse, and realize that there is a person in need who is struggling right now. So yeah, definitely support her in that. I don't have the link to her GoFundMe, but I'm sure you can find it just by looking her up. So you got the Saskas that are stepping away from Yaira, and instead Eric's doing it. Now, I can go either way with this. Some people are saying this is a sign that they're stepping away. They also mentioned that they're going to be bringing back a film series or something that they made years ago. They're going to be bringing that back. And, people are looking at this and saying, okay, they're definitely leaving. They've been let go or whatever. And this is why Eric is taking over Yaira writing with Caro. And I could go either way with this. I really don't, like Eric says, it's going to be interesting to take on like the character from a different writer's point of view. And, I can believe that. I have no reason to not believe that necessarily. It could be both. That's true. It could be both that the Saskas were let go or the Saskas are stepping away. And Eric wants to try his hand at writing a Yaira series. I think both are totally possible. And it wouldn't shock me if both ended up being true, or if neither ended up being true. I don't know. It doesn't. That's the least solid one, I think, to suggest that the Rippaverse is collapsing entirely. But definitely Carlin. Definitely, in my opinion, I think 99% you can assume that she was fired, and then. Gothix. I think Gothix, I don't think she's necessarily fired. I think she might have had her employment type changed. Or she's seeing the writing on the wall and leaving. Now, what do I mean by the writing on the wall, right? What do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look at the graphs. Note that some of these might not be, none of these are going to be like exactly how they are today because of like the time that's passed, right? I don't know exactly when this graph was made. There's no date on it, but there's two other charts that I want to look at here that do have dates. And this one is from July. This one is from December, but good Lord, I don't know why I can't find a higher quality version of this image. It bothers me to no end Like AI could not upscale this to make this look better. But I can still read it, so I'm gonna read it for you guys. ISOM 1 and ISOM 2, as you can see, massive numbers into the millions, right? The chart peaks at 4 million. That's it. The Rippaverse stuff has never reached 4 million, but it did get close with ISOM 1. And then ISOM 2 comes out, and predictably, it falls down to almost 2.5 million. Now, that's not odd. That's not odd at all, because most comics, most of anything, the first edition of it sells like crazy, and then the second one kind of tapers off. But as long as it doesn't like crater to where like it's never touching anything like close to that, you should be fine, right? And then Alpha Core comes out and it does not even 1.5 million, which again, I wouldn't say that's abnormal, because this is not only the third installment into this comic company. This is also a new series. And looking at Alpha Core especially, they don't look to be the most unique characters ever. They're kind of wearing this sort of generic military green uniform that doesn't really seem too inspired or anything like that. So, again, understandable why that one didn't sell well. And then we have Yaira. Now, this is proof that it's not just all just going downhill, because Yaira did much better. It did pass 1.5 million, right? And this is proof that there is still, like, intrigue in the Rippaverse. But oh boy, then we have a sudden shift. And this co-inspires with the change in how the Rippaverse was doing things. Because before they were considering things campaigns, then they were considering, this stuff kind of like, just not even like campaigns, but just like, it's going up on the website now, go buy it, right? It went to more just like a store release, you know what I mean? And part of that, I think, is definitely why the numbers fell. But another part of it is definitely just because Yaira was horrible. Yaira was completely terrible. And I know there's a lot of Rippaverse fans that love this comic. I don't understand why you love this comic. You're allowed to like it. I just don't understand you, and I never will. Because it was utter trash. And you see Gooding immediately after do completely just nothing. Not even reaching 500,000, which is embarrassing. And then you get to there's a few different items here that aren't comics. I'm not really going to count those. I'm really just counting the comics, okay? Not even the Ripazine stuff. Just the comics is what I'm interested in looking at. Horseman does significantly better than Gooding, but the numbers are still significantly down from even Alpha Core. It doesn't even crack 1 million, right? Now, $800,000 is still plenty of money. You could run a company off of making $800,000 per comic. That's pretty good. That's not a bad number at all. And at this point, there still wasn't really that much complaint, I think, to make that the Rippaverse was going to crash and burn, that it was going to bomb. We get the Blood Ruth, which is similar, but still not quite the same numbers of Horsemen, but okay. And I think a major reason why that is, and why I personally didn't get Blood Ruth, is because the Soskers were writing it. And I said, if they did that badly with Yaira, I don't want to even read Blood Ruth, despite the fact that I think she's one of the most interesting characters that I've seen in the Rippaverse. I was so just not interested in what they were writing that I couldn't even get myself excited to read Blood Ruth. And then immediately after this, Yaira 2, another Soska thing, doesn't even crack what's the average as of December 20th, $413,000. So now we're starting to see some pretty bad dips. Now we're starting to see some pretty bad stuff here. War of Separation barely gets above half of what Yaira 2 did. War of Separation 2, which is about the same, a little bit less, but pretty low. Zaylin, again, nothing too crazy. ISOM 3. And now ISOM 3 did much better than the others because it was the follow-up to ISOM 1 and 2, which of course did very well. So you've got a lot of people who only bought ISOM and didn't buy anything else. So they're going to be interested in how ISOM 3 ends up. But even then, by this point, the intrigue in the Rippaverse stories has dwindled so much that it can't even crack a million. It can't even get close to a million. It passes 500,000. It's like, I think that's 600,000. Which again, 600,000 is still not bad. It's still not terrible. You can still run a company off of that. But you see it keeps getting worse because now we got Horseman number 1, which, by the way, the Horseman, the first one was a one-shot series. Horseman 1 is the first of the series, just to clear up any confusion. Yaira 3, awful numbers, even worse than Yaira 2. Saints and Sinners, which was a collab with a bunch of YouTubers, which brought in more audience. So yes, that one does better than the others, but still not very great. We'll go on here. We're skipping all the other stuff. Norfolka, which again, still not very great. it's I think that says like 200 something thousand. Let's just round up to 300,000. Again, 300,000 is not terrible. It's not bad numbers. But once you get towards the end, this last year, man, Horseman 2, the Blood Ruth 2, and then Alpha Core 2, which has not arrived yet, but it did get the numbers for it. And then Detention Crew, and it's just now we're going below 100,000. And this is where things get serious. This is where things get serious now, because the numbers, and I had to rephrase this. I had to paint this picture for you, because you and I, as comic creators, would look at $100,000 or even $60,000. I would look at $60,000 and think, holy crap, that's a lot of money. That's amazing. For an individual creator, or even two creators, maybe. But for a business, for a company with multiple employees, or we're talking like double digits employees, that's not good. And all the merchandise and stuff here as well has not touched the amount of the comics at all. There's also some Rippaverse stuff thrown in here as well, which they're not getting as much money from because it's other people's stuff. So I mean, it's just there is so little money for profits if you want to really hyperanalyze all of this. And people have said and warned that this is going to happen, that the end of the Rippaverse is pretty close. And I've believed it for a while now. I've believed it for the last several months, and I definitely believe this is going to be the last year. I think if they make it through 2026, I will be shocked. By 2027, I'm looking at a new Rippaverse release. I will be very shocked. And that's not me saying this out of malice. That's not me saying this out of hatred. Just because I thought Yaira was terrible does not mean I wish the downfall of these comic creators, this business. I don't wish that on anyone, because at the end of the day, people like Carlin losing their job is not good. Obviously, that's not great. I don't want that for anyone. Even Eric, who has been caught lying multiple times about stuff to try and make it not seem as bad, I still don't wish him failure. I don't wish him to completely crash and burn with this. I want him to make good comics and succeed making good comics. But the first step to doing that is making good comics, and I feel like a lot of the Rippaverse stuff has not been good. A lot of it, especially the stuff that I've read, has been mid at best. Well, Alpha Core, I think, stood above the others, but a lot of it has been mid at best and terrible at worst. And there's a lot of stuff that I think that they've done. I think they tried to push as fast as possible to get this stuff out. And I can understand it, because you've got all this enthusiasm with ISOM 1 and 2. I can understand the point of view from like wanting to rush this out and wanting to get this stuff done. But it definitely, you can tell the stuff is rushed. There's mistakes, there's bad writing decisions that could have been caught by an editor and maybe reworked or something. But instead, you don't get that. You don't see that. There's a lot of very obvious mistakes that I've pointed out in my reviews. And look, if something were to happen where they started making really good comics and all of a sudden like they started doing better, that's great. I would not be reporting negatively on that. I would say if they're making good comics, good for them. I hope they succeed. But right now it just looks bad, man. It looks it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. So, would I kill to have $60,000? Well, I wouldn't kill, but I would love to have $60,000 off of a campaign. But I certainly, if I'm a business, I would be looking at that and saying we've got to do something better because this is not going to be enough. Because when you consider how much Eric is paying all these artists and writers that have a celebrity status to them, right? In the comic scene, you got Chuck Dixon, Joe Bennett, and Mike Barron for that one Gooding series and all that. You've got a lot of celebrity names attached to this. A lot of people who have good fame in the comic space. How much they're getting paid, how much he's having to pay the employees, pay for the warehouse and all the bills that come with that. All this stuff that he's having to do, all this money that's having to flow. I don't think enough is flowing in for them to continue doing things the way they've been doing things. So, at the end of the day, look, I want them to succeed. I've always said that. I wanted them to succeed. I don't wish their downfall, but their downfall is imminent. And unless something dramatic happens, this will be the last year of the Rippaverse. You can quote me on that. I will be shocked if we get into 2027 and the Rippaverse is still going. Shocked. But with all that being said, let me know what you think in the comments. Please try and be civil. I try to be civil in this video. I'm stating facts here. I'm trying to go off of like charts and stuff like that. And when it's not facts, like none of these people are saying they got laid off or are leaving the Rippaverse because they see it failing. That's my opinion. I've stated that that's my opinion. I've tried to make it very clear that to separate my opinion from the facts, and that this is my thoughts on the situation, how I view them. I just it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. That's all I'm gonna say. But thanks so much for watching. Check out Little Miss Steel on any crowdfund. Get your copy, $15 for either cover A, B, or C. There's only 20 copies of cover A and cover C available. So make sure you get those before they run out. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, peace out.